Now we review the film Wolfman. That's two words, wolf and man. And it's this century. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the one film I have been asked to review in the last 6 months is the latest version of Wolfman. My understanding is there have been 3 licensed iterations of Wolfman. The original, which is considered a classic, the remake, which is considered terrible, and this, which is considered this. Wolfman is the story of a man who grew up with an overbearing father, living out in the boonies on a farm. He has poor social skills, but he's managed to wrangle himself a reasonably attractive kind of boyish wife who likes to wear the pants of the relationship, and a daughter who he's got a very distinctive and somewhat quirky relationship with. And the instigating incident of this story is pretty much when he finds out that his father has been declared dead, and he has to go, deal with his father's estate. So he takes his family in a U-Haul off to the woods, gets attacked by a scary creature, and then the rest of the movie is him becoming the Wolfman. And, well, the first thing first let me say that for every 1,000 subscribers I get, I do purchase one of these bracelets from 4Ocean. 4Ocean pulls a pound of trash out of the ocean every time I do that. If you'd be so kind as to comment, like, and subscribe, you'd be doing your part for a better world. Now, Wolfman, the first thing I can really say about this film is there are definite tonal inconsistencies, and the script does not fit the film. Alright? By tonal inconsistencies, there are points in this film. There's the first act of the film, which is consistent with the last act of the film, and the central act of the film, the bulk of the film, has a dual world mechanic that I believe is very theater arts influenced in terms of, as this person transforms into the Wolfman, he experiences things in a different light. And this is literal, as the lighting around him changes when we're seeing things from his perspective. And it's one of those things, like the question being, can you hang on to your humanity when you become the Wolfman? In this case, you can no longer understand human speech because your ears are no longer used to it. And, you see things differently. People are not as easy to recognize. You're more impulsive. And, the scariness of this character, it's kind of like addiction, where, addiction takes over your mind. And you're not you anymore. And really, you could even say that the battle of the Wolfman versus the Wolfman, which is what this movie has basically got to be, is the battle of an internal struggle of forces, much like someone struggling with addiction. Now, I will say that the interior shots in the central act of this film, the second act of this film, is probably the best part of this film. It isn't action-y, but it is very artistic. There's beautiful use of color, there's use of cinematography, there's understanding, and then there's, a strong progression. Whereas the last act of the film, it's basically a cat and mouse chase where you've got the family running from the monster and then the monster fighting another monster. And, that's an interesting dynamic, but I don't believe it's at all that unique. And it's like one of the things about this movie is that in the beginning of the film, there's this mystery to the people. They say, "What was that animal?" And it's like, okay, what was that animal? And he says, "I swear I saw it walking on 2 legs." Okay, so we know, the audience knows, That's the Wolfman that infected this guy with lycanthropy, all right. But then later on, we see this character, the first Wolfman, appear in clothing, okay? So if you saw it walking on two legs and wearing clothing, why did you not just think it was a hairy dude? Stands to reason. And I mean, there is a high level of predictability to this story, because it's like in the first act, we see like the dad that went missing has this tattoo. And it's very, like, the camera points at the tattoo and centers on the tattoo, and I think kind of zooms in on that tattoo. So now we know that tattoo is going to be important later. That's set up in foreshadowing. But, you know, there are better ways to do that. And, you know, it's just that this film does not compel me the way it should. The internal struggle is the centerpiece of this film, between man and animal, between future and past, between love and hate, and that being a great thing was not expounded upon in any meaningful way. So I don't come away from this with a lot of feeling of I gained something. I haven't seen the previous Wolfman movies. I don't know how good they are. I saw this one, somebody asked me to, and, you know, I mean, werewolves, vampires, those kinds of monsters have never been a big thing for me. So my interest was kind of minimal to start with, and I could say that this film belongs in the lower middle of your watch list. It's not a wonderful film. The special effects are solid, the camera work is nice, and in the middle it's very artistic. But at the end, it's just a growl and scratch fest. And I mean, if that's what you want to see, this is a horror movie with a low body count. And there is some reasonable gore in it, but for what it is, I mean, it's a film that filmmakers should watch for the poetry of its lighting, but it's not a film that does enough with that for me to think that I can say everyone should watch it. So definitely, if you're a film hound, every movie is worth watching for its artistic merits. Definitely, if you're a werewolf fan, go watch this movie because this is your jam. If you're a regular person, but you kind of like horror movies, still, lower middle of your watch list. Not fantastic, but not terrible either. Anyway, just my opinion. Love to hear yours. Comments below. I'm Richard.
Ladies, gentlemen, and human-type persons, I am Sergeant Duck, and I am tasking you with commenting on this video. You should also like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with your friends, and make a better, more disciplined world for you and for me. Dismissed!